On the program yesterday, we talked about Steve Emerson being called an idiot by the Prime Minister of Great Britain for claiming on Fox that Birmingham, sitting in the UK, was basically a Muslim city, like a no-go zone for non-Muslims. So here he is, terrorism expert Steve Emerson. I don't know if he's a Fox contributor, paid contributor. My guess would be yes. He goes on the BBC, and what I love about this clip is you can see the incredulity of the BBC host. Like, how is it you go on television and say this stuff? Like, where did you get this from? And Emerson won't say, and it's either, I don't know, I'll speculate afterwards as to why he won't say.
With Stephen Emerson, who apologised and expressed his embarrassment for what he said about Birmingham.
It was on sloppy research that had not been fact-checked, and I can only tell you that it was a mistake that I had committed. My body of work speaks for itself for the last 25 years, and I'm typically very meticulous, and this time I wasn't. It was a reckless mistake. Sure. And you could try to, squeeze more blood out of me, but unfortunately there isn't much left.
I don't want to squeeze any blood. I wouldn't do that.
Now, I love, this is the classic conservative thing, right? Like, oh, why are you doing this to me? Take more blood from me. But no.
I'm just interested to know where you got this information from. Where is it written down anywhere that Birmingham is a place where only Muslims live?
Listen, there are mistakes that occur all the time. I'm sure your network makes mistakes, and the BBC makes mistakes, and the New York Times.
Well, I can tell you.
Okay, listen, and I'm not excusing. Just so I'm not excusing whatsoever my mistake, and I'm not going to pin it on anybody else but myself. Okay, and so I'm going to only tell you it was my irresponsible error, my irresponsible act of journalism, of not fact checking what I had read. Okay, and I alone bear that responsibility. So if you ask me, where did you read it? I can only tell you that I unfortunately had read something that had not been fact checked. And unfortunately, I usually do.
But that's not an answer to where did you read it? Now, you got to ask yourself, like, what is going on here? He's either afraid to admit that he made it up out of whole cloth, or he's afraid to admit where he gets most of his stories from. Remember, this is a terrorism expert, right? I mean, when you see someone who is an expert at something, you assume that they're doing their own research. And what he is admitting to you is, I don't do any. This is a terrorism expert who thought that the entire city of Birmingham had gone Muslim and was keeping out non-Muslims. An expert.
But I didn't do it in this time. And it was an error for which I am grievously sorry and will always be sorry for the rest of my life.
Okay, Stephen, you said that London is a place where there are Muslim religious police who beat anyone who doesn't dress according to Muslim religious Muslim attire. Now, where did you read that?
I said parts of London.
Excuse me, parts of London. It's only parts of London where this happened. Where did you...
He's got London. Oh, parts of London. You're wonderful, Stephen.
I must be wearing orthotics because I stand corrected.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just interested. Where did you get this information from in the first place?
From your own British newspapers. From your own British TV reports that have reported on the fact that there have been Muslim gangs in parts of eastern London that have beat up those non-Muslims that have entered into their area not wearing the proper attire. There have been numerous reports about that. There were reports in American newspapers as well. I'm not making that up. In fact,
actually, there's no doubt in my mind he's exaggerating this. Like, what is proper Muslim attire? So he's saying, like, I know there's proper Muslim attire for women, right? I mean, fundamentalist attire. What would it be for men?
David Cameron actually had to grow a beard before he could campaign in Birmingham in the last election cycle. I mean, it's really intense. I read that somewhere as the Majority Report's terror expert.
This is the equivalent of a terrorism expert in Great Britain reading something from the New York Post about, the knockout game and saying there are marauding tribes of paramilitary organizations that actually will stun you with their fists and make you completely knocked out.
The difference
because you are not maintaining the democratic responsibilities in their little area in their subterranean worlds they call subway.
You can't even enter New York City anymore without being knockout game.
The difference is you get a Fox contributor contract for writing that.
Continue.
If afterwards, I'd be happy to send you those reports. You can post them on your website.
So you stand by that then? You stand by that comment that you made to Fox News?
I stand by the comment that there have been Muslim gangs acting as de facto religious police that have served to basically serve as the Sharia police. I didn't say that on camera, but that's what I'm saying now, that have attacked non-Muslims for not obeying certain types of their interpretation of Islamic law and how they dress.
For some reason, Steve Emerson will not cop to where he saw that information written about Birmingham. My guess is, I mean, is it something like, I got my information from WorldNet Daily. It was my fault for not fact checking. But I mean, this is a terrorism expert.
What I love is like an era is, I don't know, we said that this group used Stinger missiles for something. Our mistake. It was actually a different type of artillery. It's not like I just said something that's just completely wrong, just totally divorced from anything.
Well, it's also like, you read this thing and this expert, it didn't even occur to him, even if he did read it at WorldNet Daily or wherever it was that he read this thing and just repeated, it didn't even occur to him as he was saying, I mean, if we're to believe him, right? If we're to believe him, it didn't even occur to him that like, hey, wait a second, that sounds sort of weird. That's unbelievable. It didn't even occur to him like to say like, wow, that's crazy. How did that happen? Or what is also very likely is that he said, that sounds plausible enough to say on Fox. And I mean, there you go. Whoa, who's gonna what?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, this only became a big deal because it involved people outside of the United States of America. I mean, who knows what this guy's been slinging?
Right. That's exactly my point. It's plausible enough, and what? It's not like the British watched this show.
Well, two real quick things. One, I can't find it, but I mean, this clip, but there's a clip of this guy after the Oklahoma City bombing talking about how this is like the markings of an Iranian operation or something. I mean, I don't know. I saw this clip years ago, but this is what he does for a long, long, long time.